Hello everyone, welcome back. I hope you guys are doing good. So let's continue with our next SQL question, that is find users who logged in on consecutive days. So we have a table called login and we have the user ID and login date, right? So we have to write a SQL query to find all the users who logged in on two or more consecutive days, right? So we have to return the table with a single column user ID. The result can be written in any order, right? So this is the example. Your user ID 1 2 3, login date, and the output 1 3. Right, so let's look at the approach. So here in the table I have added one extra ID compared to the example. So in example we have just 3. I have added one extra ID. I'll tell you why I have added this in my third approach or third follow-up question, right? So to solve this, we have two approaches. One is your lag and second one is your self join. Third one, again, we will see what this third one is. So let's start with the approach one. Okay, so in the first one, so it's up to what you want to use. You can either use lead, you can either use lag. So the whole idea is, if I have to display this table, so the whole idea is we are just checking the next row or the previous row date, and we are taking the difference. So by nature, if anything is consequent, be it date or number, the difference should be equal to 1. So we will only select those user IDs, right? So that's the whole logic. So first let's write the syntax to get the lead or lag of login date. I'll say select, and here I'll say user ID, right? And I'll say login date. First let me say from logins so that I get the suggestions, right? So now it's up to us. Let's find lead, right? So the next date, because we have this and we will get this in the next column, right? So let's do that. Lead of login date, right? Lead of login date over. So now we have to partition by user ID because we want to find it for each of the user IDs, right? So I'll say partition by user underscore ID, then order by obviously date, login underscore date, right? This I will call as next login underscore date, right? I hope this is pretty much clear. So if I run this, I will get the next date, right? So this is now a simple task of filtering. So now I will just say, if you carefully observe, the for user ID 1, if I subtract this, 2 minus 1 is 1, so then user ID 1 has consecutive days. So if 2 days are there, then only we will have this difference, right? So similarly, these are now not required. I mean, anyway we'll be taking distinct, so even if they do not have the difference, the user ID 1 will always be counted. So for user ID 2, it is 3 and 1, so he will be not there. Null and 3, so not counted. For user ID 3, 11 10, yes, so he will be also there. Null and null, so it does not matter. One record is there, that means he has been logged in for 2 days, right? For user ID 4, he is there for 3 days, 11 12 13, so obviously 12 minus 11 is 1, 13 minus 12 is 1, so this will be also there. So what we have to do, we have to take the filter, or we have to take a difference and we have to give it as equal to 2. So we can directly write that in the filter, right? So if I just keep this in the outer query, I'll say select and star, or so let me do star, and then we will take the distinct of IDs, right? T where, so you have to take the difference. So this is for your SQL server. So date diff is the function where you can find any difference of your date column. So I can pass here day, and I'll pass here login date, which is the smallest, next login date, which is the biggest. So this is how you pass. So this will give me the difference. Here I'll say equal to 1, and here I don't want style, I'll say distinct of user underscore ID, right? So let me now select this. I will get, okay, so there is some issue. Select, okay, there's select distinct from is missing. From is missing. I have added. Let's run this, right? 1, 3, and 4. This is what the output was, and we got that, right? Right. So I hope this solution is pretty much easy. So what we did, so we took distinct users and we have an inner query that will give us the next date, right? So we have the inner query that gives us the next date, and outside we are just comparing the login date or the current date and next date. If the difference is equal to 1, then that user ID will be in our output. Okay, so now let's move on. Let's go to the second approach. So in the second approach, we will be doing the self join. So we will be having same instance of the table logins, and for one instance we will be having the current login date, and the next instance we will have the next login date. So the same concept is there, but using the self join. So let me first write the join syntax. Select, again here we will have distinct. So here, since I'll be having two, right? So if I do from logins L1 join logins L2, right? So these are my two tables. So what I will be selecting, I will be selecting L1 dot user underscore ID, correct? So this, because we just want the user IDs where they are consecutive logins, correct? I'll say on. So obviously, since we have to join, we have to first join on user ID for both. So the L1, that is the logins table, is there, that will be for your current date, correct? And L2 will be greater than current date. But how greater? The difference should be only 1. So that is the two condition that we will be joining on. So first I'll say here L1 dot user underscore ID equal to L2 dot user underscore ID. Then I'll say, and as I mentioned, see, for L1, okay, this is there. For L2 we need the date. For the second table we need the date where the difference will be 1. So we can say again same thing, date diff. So this is for your SQL server. Similarly, you will have the date diff or the date subtract, whatever it is, in your different SQL flavors. So, but the logic is same. So you have to take the difference L1 dot login date comma L2 dot login underscore date. So this is again nothing but a next login date, whatever we got, right? Equal to 1. So wherever it is equal to 1, only there it will have the match, right? So now if I run this complete one, I will get 1, 3, and 4, right? So this is a very simple one, and it is, I mean, the whole logic is same. We are just checking based on the difference. If it is equal to 1, it will be in our output. Okay, so now comes the obvious question. So if I go back to the problem statement, right? So here the question asks us for two or more consecutive days. Let's say you are asked to find two or more consecutive days and you write the query, but there can be a follow-up question like, for example, in the tables, in the example table, we just have two consecutive days, 1 and 3. So these are coming two times. But in the test data that I have given, I have added user ID 4 who is logging in 3 consecutive days. So what if the follow-up question will be on, can you find the user IDs who has logged in 3 consecutive days, or can you please write a generic query where I can just pass 3, 4 or 5 whatever it is. So it should be a generic query. So that's where our third approach comes in. So for this, what we will do is we will use a row number, right? So whenever you use a row number, for example, we have these dates, right? Let me copy this date. So yeah, let me copy this. So this will be 11, 12 and 13, right? So we will populate the row number for these. This will be 1, 2 and 3, right? And let's say there is one more date over here, which is your 15, right? So it will be 15. So whenever you do a row number and we subtract this, okay, we subtract this. So if I subtract 1 from 11, it will be 10, right? So this will be 10. So this will be 10. And if I subtract 2, again this will be also 10. And if I subtract 3, this will be also 10. So now what we got same number, right? Now if this is that, this will be 4. This will be not 10, this will be 11, right? So now if I do a filter, so if we are doing a filter where the count of row is equal to 3 or equal to n, we will get this one, right? Whoever this ID is, let's say this is user ID 4, then we will get user ID 4. And for filter, since this is an aggregation, we will be doing a count star equal to or greater than whatever it is, we will be doing having clause, right? So this is the simple idea. We will be using the date and we will use the row number. We will be doing the difference and we will group these. So that's how we will identify. So let's write the query. Maybe you will get a clear picture, right? So let me write the, so for this I'll take it as a ct as, so select, so we need the other columns as a user underscore id comma login underscore date. So these are needed itself, so these will be as is. So here I'll just add a new column which is nothing but your difference of the date and row number. I'll do it in a single shot. Let me show you. So I'll say date add, and I'll say day, and I'll say here minus row number, right? So this will be the second operand. So that's why here we are getting the, so yeah, here we'll also have over. So we want it to be partitioned by the user ID, right? So I'll say partition by user underscore ID, then I'll say order by your login date. This is very straightforward, right? So this is one part of the date add. So this is the second part of the date add. Now we'll add the login date, which is our date. So we will minus, so whatever the login date is, that minus these many days, whatever the row number is, right? So for this I will say as, let's say grp or something group, okay? Then I will say from your logins, right? So this is my inner query. So first let me run this to see if there are any errors. So okay, so this, if you see, for 1 here it is 1 2, since these are consecutive, these have come to a same date, right? You can either add or subtract, that is up to you, that's fine. So these have come to same date. Similarly for 3, these have come to same date, and 4, these all have come to same date. Now if we have to identify who has logged in 3 days, 2 days, what we can do is we can simply outside, let me go over here. After this, from login date, let me complete the CT bracket. So in the outer query, I'll simply do the group by user ID and group, and I'll see whose count is greater than or equal to 2 in our case, in the original case, right? So I'll simply say select user underscore ID from CT. I don't have to say distinct here. So the reason is I will be doing the group by. Group by in itself will create a distinct bucket for 1, 2, 3, 4, all the respective user IDs, right? So I'll say from, so from is done, sorry. Here I'll say group by your user underscore ID, comma, GRP. So for this and this combination, how many rows are there for the each combination? So 1 and 1231, there are 2 rows. So that means user ID 1, it will get the count as 2, and for user ID 2, you will be having the count as, so both will having a count as 1. So for 2 and this date 1, for 2 and this date it is be 1, right? So similarly for 3, this will be, count will be 2, the for user ID 4, count will be 3, right? So that is how it will group it. So now I will say, okay, so before writing that, I'll simply do here comma count star. Let's see that output in action, then we can write the having clause, right? Here also I'll take group ID for displaying. So now, okay, ct, okay, as is wrong, okay, fine. Here I'll run the complete query. So now if you see, as I showed you, right, I'll, for 1 and 31 we had 2 count, 1 and 1 we had 1 count, which we don't care, since 1 is already there, that's fine, we just need this one. For 2 it is 1 and 1, so there were 2 dates, 2 different dates, 1 and 1. 3, there are 2 dates, same date, so it will be 2. 4, there are 3 dates consecutive, hence they are grouped in a single date, right, or single group. So now it is our simple job to do having count star greater than or equal to 2. So this is our original ask of greater than equal to 2. So this if I run, I get 1, 3 and 4, right? So if you are asked to find only 2, so only 2 will give you, you just have to change the counts are equal to whatever the value is. I'll say this 1 and 3. Then if I say only 3, then I'll get 4. So if I say even it goes on, right? So greater than 3, 4, 5, whatever the value is, you will get it. So now this is kind of a generic solution, right? So yeah, so these are the 3 solutions. In the first one, what we saw the, it's just your lead. Using the lead, we just saw which date has the difference equal to 1. Those we filtered out. In the second one as well, it's the same concept, but we did a self join, right? And in the third, or the generic approach, we used row number and did a date add, or we subtracted those many days from the date as much as the row number, and then we wrote an outer query where we did a group by and got the counts, and if it is greater than equal to 2, 3, whatever number is, we can pass it and we can get the user IDs, right? So this is it for this solution. I hope you like it, and we'll see you in the next one.